Have you ever looked at the world around you? The sun rising over mountains, the ocean shimmering in endless shades of blue, the laughter of children, the love between friends and family, and paused for a moment to wonder, how can something so beautiful exist alongside so much pain and evil? If God is perfect, if He created everything with care and intention, then how did darkness, cruelty, and betrayal come to touch our world? How did evil creep in when the first creation was flawless, when the first beings were radiant and whole? Imagine a being of unimaginable beauty and brilliance, a being so close to God that His presence alone radiated awe across the heavens. Perfect in wisdom, perfect in strength, perfect in every way imaginable. And yet, in the quiet corners of his heart, a seed of pride began to stir. A thought whispered, "Could I be like the one who made me? Could I rise above my place?" And in that single, subtle thought, the first shadow appeared. Today we're going to explore a story that is both cosmic and deeply personal. It is the story of Satan, the most brilliant angel ever created, and the moment when perfection met pride, when love became challenged by ambition, and when choices shaped not only the heavens but the destiny of humanity. How could someone created in such perfection choose rebellion? How did evil, something so destructive and incomprehensible, even come to exist? If you're ready to take this journey with me, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you never miss a deep dive into scripture that touches your heart and sparks your mind. Welcome to Gospel Insights, where we explore the mysteries of the Bible and uncover the lessons hidden in every story. Before the first shadow, before rebellion ever touched the heavens, there was light. Not the sunlight we see on earth, but a radiant, pure light that filled every corner of existence. And within that light, God created beings of incredible beauty, angels, perfect in form and spirit, each one a reflection of His glory. Among them was one angel whose brilliance surpassed all others. He was radiant, majestic, a being of wisdom and grace unlike anything ever seen. His very presence caused the heavens to shimmer. This angel, later known as Lucifer, was created without flaw. His mind was sharp, his spirit disciplined, and his heart designed to adore and serve the Creator fully. Every thought, every action, every intention flowed in harmony with God's perfect will. He was beauty and intelligence personified, a being whose light could illuminate the darkest corners of existence. Yet within this perfection lay the possibility of choice. And choice, as God designed it, is what makes love real. It is what makes loyalty meaningful. Angels were not mindless automatons. They could think, they could feel, they could decide. And this is where the story of Satan begins, not with sin, but with freedom. Imagine walking in the heavens surrounded by thousands of angels, each one praising God, their voices forming a symphony that echoed through eternity. The air itself seemed alive with music and light, and in this perfection, Lucifer excelled. He was honored above many, praised for his brilliance, revered for his wisdom. Yet even in this, the first stirrings of pride began to whisper. "How great am I?" one thought might have asked. "Am I not the most magnificent of all creation? Could I ascend higher, perhaps even to the place of the Creator Himself?" These were not thoughts of immediate evil. They were subtle, almost imperceptible, like the first ripple across a still pond. But in a being of immense power and brilliance, even a small ripple can grow into a storm. And then there was beauty itself, a dangerous gift. Lucifer's appearance, his talents, his intellect. They were admired not only by other angels but by himself. Reflection turned into admiration, admiration into comparison, and comparison into ambition. The perfect angel began to see his own light, not just as a gift from God, but as a measure of his worth, a reason to elevate himself. This is the moment we must pause and reflect. Perfection is not always protection against pride. Even the most radiant heart can stumble when it forgets its source. Even the most brilliant mind can be tempted to place itself above the one who gave it life. And it was here, in the quiet folds of thought and feeling, that evil first found its foothold, not as an action, but as a desire, a longing to rise above one's place. The heavens remained harmonious for a time. Angels continued their worship, creation continued in its beauty, and God's design remained flawless. But inside Lucifer, the first question had been planted, a question that would grow, unseen at first, but unstoppable in its consequences. Why must I serve when I could rule? Why be a reflection when I could be the light itself? Lucifer's thoughts, once subtle whispers, began to grow louder. They weren't screams or demands at first, they were questions, teasing ideas that perhaps were better left unasked. Why should I not be the highest? If I am most brilliant, most beautiful, most wise, why should anyone else, even God, hold the highest place? It started with small moments. A glance of envy when another angel was honored. A quiet comparison when he observed the workings of creation that God alone orchestrated. Each thought seemed harmless, almost logical, but in reality it was a seed taking root in fertile soil, the soil of pride. Imagine the brilliance of Lucifer's mind, sharp as lightning, his beauty radiant enough to make the stars themselves seem dull. And yet with every gift came a temptation, the temptation to turn admiration inward, to measure himself not against the Creator, but against his own reflection. And as he pondered, the angel who had once radiated absolute harmony began to feel restless. A longing stirred, not for God, but for power, for independence, for being more than a servant. And so, what began as a question became a desire. What was once admiration for his gifts slowly shifted into self-glorification. I am light itself, he thought. I am worthy of worship. I should not bow, I should not serve. I deserve the highest throne. This was the moment when perfection began to falter, for God had given Lucifer choice, and in that choice lay danger. Free will is a gift, but gifts can be misused. And when the brightest heart in all creation begins to choose self above the source of all light, the consequences ripple outward, unseen but inevitable. Other angels noticed subtle changes, a sharpness in tone, a distance in conversation, a confidence that carried a hint of challenge. Yet, many could not have imagined what was brewing. Lucifer's mind was brilliant, his charisma magnetic. Slowly, he began to draw others to his thoughts. Pride is contagious, especially when it comes dressed in logic and charm. Could we too be greater than we are? He asked them, carefully, almost innocently. Why must we serve when we could rule? Why admire when we could create? These words were not commands, not yet. They were suggestions, seeds planted in fertile hearts. And as he spoke, some angels listened. Some felt a pull they could not yet name. The harmony of heaven, once unbroken, trembled at the edges. And yet God remained sovereign. His vision saw beyond the whispers of pride, beyond the first stirrings of rebellion. But in the narrative of free will, he did not force obedience. True love, true loyalty, requires choice. And here, in the brilliance of Lucifer's mind, choice had taken its first dangerous turn. Evil had not yet acted in deed. It had taken root in desire, in longing, in the heart of a being created perfect. And this is the lesson that echoes through all time. Every sin, every act of evil, begins somewhere invisible, often as a thought, a temptation, a question that refuses to be silenced. Lucifer's rebellion had begun, not with a battle, not with fire, but with a shift in heart. The first cracks in heaven's perfection had appeared, and the stage was being set for a cosmic confrontation that would shake creation itself. The whispers of pride had grown into shouts. What began as thoughts of superiority, admiration for self, and subtle doubt now erupted into open defiance. Lucifer, radiant yet consumed by ambition, gathered those angels who shared his vision. Thousands, perhaps millions, turned their hearts away from the harmony of heaven, swayed by the allure of independence, power, and the dream of rivaling God himself. Imagine it, the heavens, once a place of unbroken light and symphony, now trembling with tension. The brilliance of the angels, which had once reflected divine glory, now reflected ambition, anger, and fear. The serene order of the cosmos quivered at the intensity of what was unfolding. Lucifer spoke boldly, rallying his followers. He promised freedom, greatness, a chance to be more than servants. And in those moments, even the most loyal angels faced the most profound question. Would they stay in perfect harmony, or would they follow the promise of power? Some were seduced by ambition, some by curiosity, others perhaps by the thrill of defiance. And so, a division was born. God, in his infinite awareness, knew the rebellion would come. But even knowing, the choice had to remain theirs. True love, true loyalty, requires freedom, even the freedom to say no. And so, the clash began, not with weapons as we know them, but with unimaginable forces of spirit and will. The very essence of heaven itself became the battlefield. Light met shadow, order confronted chaos, and the once harmonious realm now rang with the echoes of conflict. The battle was not merely physical, it was spiritual, emotional, and existential. Angels who had walked in joy and praise now faced fear, doubt, and betrayal. Friendships shattered, trust vanished. And in the heart of Lucifer, ambition turned into rage. He no longer sought only glory. He sought to unseat God himself, to become the ultimate authority, the source of light rather than a reflection of it. But no being, no matter how brilliant, can overcome the Creator. The rebellion was fierce, but the outcome inevitable. Lucifer and his followers were cast out, hurled from the heavens into a realm of darkness, separated forever from the light and harmony they had known. And there, in the void outside God's presence, evil was born, not as creation, but as the consequence of choice, pride, and the misuse of freedom. And this is the lesson the story whispers to every one of us. Evil is not created, it is chosen. It begins in the heart, in the desire to place self above love, ambition above harmony, pride above truth. Satan was perfect, yes, but perfection without humility, brilliance without submission, freedom without love, can become the first shadow in any heart. The heavens were never the same. The rebellion left a mark, not only on the angels who fell, but on creation itself. The story of Satan's pride reminds us that even the most magnificent beings are not immune to temptation, and that evil begins quietly, within a thought, a desire, a choice, before it ever manifests in action. After Lucifer and his followers were cast out of heaven, the heavens themselves regained their harmony, but the universe was forever changed. Darkness had been born, not as a new creation, but as the consequence of choice, as a shadow of freedom misused. And this shadow did not remain distant. It began to stretch toward the world God had created next. Humanity. Adam and Eve, the first humans, were created in perfection, in harmony with God, in a world bursting with life and abundance. But the rebellion in heaven had set a precedent. Evil, once a mere possibility in the heart of a perfect being, now sought expression, a way to disrupt what was pure, beautiful, and innocent. Satan, once the most radiant of angels, now the ruler of a fallen realm, turned his gaze to earth. His brilliance had not vanished. It had become cunning, deceptive, persuasive. He understood the power of desire, of doubt, of questioning what is good and true. And so, he approached humanity, not with force, but with subtlety, whispering in their hearts, planting doubt, tempting curiosity, and presenting rebellion as freedom. Did God really say? He asked. Just a question, just a thought. And yet, it was enough to begin the first fracture between humanity and their Creator. This is the tragic echo of heaven's fall. The misuse of freedom, once contained in one being, now touches every human heart. Pride, ambition, doubt, desire, all now have a model, a reflection in the story of Lucifer. And here is the profound truth. Evil always begins in the heart. It begins not with outward action, but with thoughts, choices, and desires that turn away from God. Just as the most perfect angel could choose rebellion, every human has the freedom to choose love or pride, obedience or defiance, light or shadow. Yet even in this story, hope is present. The fall of Lucifer, as devastating as it was, also shows the value of humility, the necessity of obedience, and the consequences of choice. Humanity, unlike the angels who rebelled, was given guidance, the law, and the possibility of redemption. Evil may exist, but God's love and wisdom are always greater, always reaching into the shadow to bring light. So when you see evil, injustice, and suffering in the world, remember this: it is the ripple of rebellion, the echo of a choice made long ago, magnified by free will and desire. But it is also a reminder of the importance of the choices we make every day, small acts of love, truth, and humility that counter the shadow and reflect God's light in a world still capable of brilliance. The story of Satan's fall is not just a tale of angels. It is a mirror for humanity, a reflection of our own struggles, and a lesson that perfection does not protect against pride, that freedom without love can be dangerous, and that every heart has the power to choose. Evil is not something God created. It emerged when a perfect being made a tragic choice. Lucifer was created flawless, a being of brilliance, wisdom, and beauty. Every part of him reflected the glory of God. But perfection does not remove the freedom to choose. Within that freedom, the first shadow was born. Lucifer did not fall because he was flawed. He fell because he turned away from the one who made him perfect. At first, it was not hatred or defiance. It was a subtle shift in the heart, a moment of self-admiration that became self-exaltation. He began to see his own glory as his own, and not as a gift from God. He stopped seeing himself as a reflection and began to imagine himself as the source. In that quiet turning of the heart, evil found its doorway. Evil is not a being or a force floating in the universe. It is born the moment a created will departs from the Creator's will. It is the refusal to bow, the decision to rise above one's place, the whisper that says, "I deserve more." Lucifer did not invent power. He twisted it. He did not create darkness. He stepped out of the light. God could have stopped him immediately, erased him, or silenced the threat. But if he had, creation would never understand love. Love cannot exist without choice. Worship without freedom is not worship. God allowed Lucifer to fall because he valued genuine devotion. Heaven had to witness what it means when pride is chosen over humility. When Lucifer fell, he took with him not only angels, but a way of thinking that would reach humanity. His first weapon was not violence, but suggestion. He approached Adam and Eve with a question that carried the heart of rebellion, doubt wrapped in reason, ambition disguised as wisdom. The same thought that began in heaven entered the garden, and through it, the shadow reached the human world. Even now, the question remains why God allows evil to exist. The answer is found in the mystery of love. God allows evil not because he is powerless, but because he is patient. He waits for hearts to choose him freely. He waits for humility to overcome pride and obedience to triumph over defiance. Every soul must choose between the voice of rebellion or the voice of surrender. The story of Satan is not only the story of an angel, it is a caution written into every heart. Pride can dwell even in perfection. Rebellion can rise even in beauty. One thought, one desire, one shift from surrender to self-will can turn the greatest light into the greatest shadow. Even as evil entered the world, God began a work of redemption. Where pride brought a fall, grace offered a return. Where rebellion opened a wound, love prepared a healing. The existence of evil does not deny God's goodness. It reveals his mercy. He did not abandon creation to darkness. He stepped into it. He faced it. He overcame it. Lucifer's story warns us and also mirrors our own hearts. Greatness without humility is dangerous. Beauty without surrender can corrupt. Freedom without obedience leads to ruin. Every fall begins with a thought. Every victory begins with a choice. From the heights of heaven to the battles in our own hearts. The story of Satan's fall is more than an ancient tale. It is the mirror through which we see the true nature of good, evil, love, and freedom. Evil did not begin because God failed. It began because a created heart chose pride over surrender. And yet, even in that first shadow, God was already preparing the greatest revelation, that love is stronger than rebellion, humility stronger than pride, and surrender stronger than self-exaltation. Lucifer fell while standing in perfection, proving that glory without gratitude is dangerous. Free will without humility can turn beauty into darkness. But the story did not end with his rebellion. It leads us to Christ, the one who showed that the highest throne is reached through the lowest cross. Satan rose in pride and fell. Christ bowed in humility and rose forever. We live in a world where evil still whispers, where questions still burn. Why suffering? Why pain? Why does God wait? But now we know. He waits not out of weakness, but out of mercy. He allows choice, so that love may be pure. He allows war so that victory may be complete. He allows darkness for a time so that when the light arrives, every soul will see the truth. God is just. God is patient. God is love. In the end, evil will have no legacy. Pride will have no throne. The first question that echoed in heaven, why did evil appear, will be answered not in words but in the face of a risen king. And every knee will bow, not by force but by the undeniable glory of truth. If this message touched your heart, if this journey opened your eyes to truths beyond the surface, then don't let it end here. This is Gospel Insights, where we dig deep into the mysteries of God, the battles of heaven, and the destiny of the soul. Before you go, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell icon so you never miss a revelation that could change your life. Stay blessed, stay seeking, and remember, the greatest war is within, but the greatest victory is already won. Until next time, keep your eyes on eternity.